All right, what is up, everybody? Keith Jameson, Go Back Get Guy 231 on Sorare, and we are back for cheap targets for this upcoming weekend. I should just say this, like, I'm changing the numbers that we're using because ETH has changed so much. ETH's now hovering around 1,500. When we started doing this series, it was around 1,000. You know, I talked about then treat whatever you made as your deposit as your budget. Doesn't really matter what ETH does at that point. If I go to sleep with 0.1 ETH and I spend nothing overnight, I wake up with 0.1. Now, from going from 1,000 to 1,500 in ETH, I actually technically made money, but it's all just paper until like you actually sell out of your Ethereum and you actually put it into cash. So try to value, you know, for this aspect, you know, for bigger sales, and if you're moving money in and out, you can do differently. But for this aspect, if you're grinding the academy, which is where this is going, you know, I've heard a lot of people say they actually use these targets too for their own limited teams, for rares, like that's all good too. But for this aspect, if you're not cashing out, treat it in ETH. So we are gonna move the target, instead of doing like 0.005 to 0.01, I'm just gonna do 0.0075 for defenders and midfielders. And then for forwards, because there's none under there, we're gonna go under 0.01. I got two options for you. So quick reminder, like, subscribe to the video, really helps. Also, check out the pod feed if you haven't already, Sorare First Pitch. Just a huge shout out to my partner in crime on this this channel, Alex Super, just crushing the baseball content. You know, we call this Sorare First Pitch as like a, you know, in our head, a play on words, you know, soccer pitch, first pitch, whatever. It's what we got. So we're going with it, like, is what it is. But we're trying to do both football and soccer. Football and baseball, hopefully at a high level for you guys, for any budget level, to give you some good content. So make sure you check us out. It's on Spotify for sure. Apple, it should be like maybe today. Put in all the requests, so you got the pod feed as well. All right, and then I guess final shout out FSI, my site, for letting us do all this on it. You know, if you're into DFS, make sure you check out our site too. All right, let's start with defenders. Marcelo Silva from RSL, team captain. It's 0.004, home versus Dallas. Look, Dallas is definitely kind of fallen down a bit. They still have some good attackers in Ferreira, Velasco, Paul Areola has definitely kind of had a huge pullback. But RSL at home is legit. Marcelo Silva is a guy that just can put up some big numbers. He's a set piece threat, team captain. He's definitely going to start, with the exception of like something crazy happening. So 0.004, I think, is a great grinder. I think Jonathan Mensah, 0.0031. Look, I don't necessarily trust Columbus at home versus the Revs to keep a clean sheet, but I think Columbus can do some work. And Mensah, another guy, set piece threat, guaranteed banged on starter, coming at a 0.0031, just a great chance to get you like the 50. And remember, with the academy, right? Hopefully you've started building up your commons and you have some half decent ones, or you got some Europeans coming back that you can mix in. But these limited cards, you get a 40% boost on. And the goal right now in the early points of commons, let me just pause for this because I had a comment and a Twitter message about this. The goal right away, like if you can make a tier 3 limited, if you can get to that 400 point threshold, I think that's fantastic. You know, any sort of ETH that you can put in the bank, even if it's 0.001, is huge, because if you started out like with 0.01 or 0.02, you know, that's yield right away on that investment, and you can start stacking that ETH up and it progress into the later leagues. But winning a star and like a common that can start crushing is going to make that much better, because now you can all of a sudden, let's say that, you know, I had somebody told me that they want to do some Tadic in like 2 weeks. That's like a cheat code card. That's a guy that can knock in 90 to 100 for you in plenty of matchups. Let's say that you also nail a Joshua Kimmich. Now you got Kimmich and Tadic, who can get you like 180 points. Now I got my two sets of limiteds. Let's say if I can get two guys that can get me 50 with the bonus, that's 70. So let's just call Kimmich and Tadic 160 plus 140. That's 300. Now my goalie gets in that 350. I'm at 350s. Now all of a sudden I get any more of those spikes and I'm rolling. So, you know, getting those big time star commons is big. That's going to give you the better chance to get to that tier 3 limited, tier 2 range. And then once we can start stacking ETH, you can have much more fun in terms of saving up for that goalie, or saving up for, you know, that star where you can compete in the other divisions. So Last one I'm going to mention, I would not buy him unless I just was like flush with budget, but Adam Lundqvist, look, this might be somebody if you're looking at like specialist or your own limited teams. I think Houston could smash Minnesota here. Minnesota just beat up on Everton last night on Wednesday night, short turnaround. It was a huge emotional game. They also, Emmanuel Reynoso, who's pains me, was in some of my better lineups coming up this weekend, went out with an ankle injury. If he's out, Minnesota's already bad away from home. They're on a short week. Very, very emotional game versus Everton. A friendly being an emotional game. Crazy. But it's a really good spot for Houston. I'm huge on Hector Herrera, who did not make this list because he wasn't nearly high enough on soraredata, and I forgot. I don't know what his limited price is, but I think he's a great shout for underdog and for limited. But I think Houston might smash here. So Lundqvist takes some corners, 0.007 is fine. At the midfield spot, Pedro Santos, 0.005. Look, before the injury, it was just an absolute crusher, 50 to 70 every single game. He's definitely fallen down a little bit, but Columbus is starting to hum. I actually really like them versus the Revs from an offensive perspective. The Revs in the back have been really, really bad. I think it will improve a little bit. Andrew Farrell is back from red card suspension, but I think Columbus has some goals in them here. So Santos, a really good shot to get a part of it. Diego Charro is my preferred pick for an academy player, 0.0028 when I pulled. Look, a guy, again, we're not trying to go for home runs here, just a bunch of singles. And 0.0028, it's so cheap for a guy that's going to start, has a great chance at a double-double. Last week I think he put up like 70-something. Home versus San Jose, I think Portland's midfield can control this game, so really like Diego Charro. And then finally, my other pick I would be all over too. And you could just do two mids depending on what your allocation is, right? If you have a good common forward, a good common defender, and obviously we're using a common goalkeeper, you could just do two midfielders, and Michael Bradley I think is in a really good spot, only 0.0024. Home versus Charlotte. Speaking of emotional games, watch Charlotte, beating Chelsea at home, play a lot of their big guys, huge crowd, players were going crazy. Now they got to go travel to Toronto, and then it just occurred to me, Charlotte had all sorts of issues when they went to Montreal. I have not seen the reports, but I think there was a lot of unvaccinated players that couldn't play. So I don't know if that's still a thing. I'm definitely going to research that more. But, I'm not targeting any Charlotte players here, so it's not really relevant for this video. But Toronto could just be in a smash spot. So Michael Bradley, 0.0024, I think makes a ton of sense as well. At the forward spot, we have to bump up a little bit. If we don't have a good forward, we're going to spend a little bit. But I got two good options for you. Christian Dijome, a really, really good player for the Whitecaps, 0.0094. It'd be interesting. He might change position and play like it says. Actually, I'm going to scale back on Dijome. I do have concerns on what they're going to do. I think he's too good for them to bench. But they just traded for Julian Gressel. Dijome's been playing a little bit of right wing back at times. It's been him or Godinho. That's definitely going to be Julian Gressel's spot once he's in. He's not going to play on the left side. I guess he could. Rapasso's been pretty good over there, though. And then, they've been playing with two strikers and Ryan Gauld behind them. Dijome can play that spot, but I don't necessarily know if they're going to bump Brian White or Cavallini out. If anything, it would be one of those two. But I think he's fine at 0.0094. Just there's a little bit too much uncertainty for me. The guy I would go for is Andy Polo. If you look at my gallery, I have three. I have a limited, a super rare, and a rare, all acquired this week. Look, they're at home. They play one of the worst teams in the league, Carlos Stein. They're about -200 favorite. I think -200 is too generous. So I think it's truly a smash spot. Polo has been taking a monopoly of set pieces for Universitario. And I think, they just put up 4 goals last week. He's been putting up good floor, hasn't had decisive in the last 2, but if he gets the decisive, you're looking at 75 to 80. And then additionally, because of his L15s continuously improving, his L5 will shoot up. I think there's a good shot that you might be able to flip him for a profit if he has a good game. So those are my picks. If you have any questions, feel free, reach out on Discord at GatorGuy231, Twitter at GatorGuy231. Definitely prefer Discord. I always have that window up on my computer if I'm doing normal work too. So yeah. If you have any, and then just keep in mind, make sure you watch the Sorare first pitch on MLB. Sorare MLB is definitely up and running. Games start next week. Really looking forward to it. And again, have some great content out there, so check that out. And with that, I'll say, see you.